What if a country built more solar power in 5 months than an entire nation did in a full year? What if a country built a train that goes faster than most private planes cruise? Because all of that actually happened. And it all happened in China. The speed at which China is building, inventing, and breaking records right now is genuinely one of the most jaw-dropping stories happening on the planet. And most people have no idea, so buckle up. Because we're going chapter by chapter through the most mind-bending things China has pulled off in just the last couple of years. With total installed energy capacity reaching 3.9 terawatts by the end of 2025, China now operates more generating capacity than the combined total of the United States, the European Union, and India. Let that sit for a second. The US, the EU, and India combined, and China still has more. And it's not like those countries are small. That's most of the developed world, in a single bracket. But it gets crazier. In just the first 5 months of 2025 alone, China installed 198 gigawatts of new solar capacity, more than the entire US added in all of 2024. 5 months. That's it. 5 months of solar installation that beats what the world's richest country did in 12. And the 16.5% annual growth rate in energy capacity additions represents an exponential expansion curve that defies traditional infrastructure development patterns. No one in modern history has ever built energy infrastructure at this speed. Not even close. Now let's talk about the craziest energy project on Earth. Because China isn't just generating power the normal way, they're trying to copy the sun itself. China's experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, nicknamed the artificial sun, maintained a steady, highly confined loop of plasma for 1,066 seconds on January 20, 2025. That's over 17 minutes of contained nuclear fusion energy. And that more than doubled the previous world record of 403 seconds, which was also set by China in 2023. Now, if you're not a physics nerd, here's why this is a big deal. Nuclear fusion is the same process that powers the actual sun. Fuse two hydrogen atoms together, and you release an insane amount of clean energy with basically zero waste. Scientists have been chasing this for decades because if we crack it, we get unlimited clean power for the entire planet. Forever. The problem? To pull off fusion on Earth, you have to heat plasma to temperatures over 100 million degrees Celsius. That's hotter than the core of the sun itself. And then you have to hold it stable long enough to do something useful with it. According to China's chief fusion physicist Song Yuntao, fusion reactions need to reach the order of thousands of seconds to sustain themselves. The latest record marks the first time humanity has simulated conditions necessary for operating fusion reactors in an experimental setup. And then in January 2026, East kept pushing. China announced that East had achieved plasma density levels significantly above its prior range, entering what scientists call the density-free regime, a state previously only theorized to be possible. They're not just breaking records anymore. They're proving that things we thought were impossible are actually possible. That's a different level. Okay, let's come back down to Earth. Literally, because China is also building the fastest train the world has ever seen. Meet the CR450. During pre-service trials on the Shanghai-Chongqing-Chengdu high-speed railway line in October 2025, China's CR450 hit a peak speed of 450 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest conventional wheel-on-rail vehicle on the planet. Now here's the wild part. That 450 kilometers per hour was just the test speed. The actual commercial operating speed, the speed regular passengers will travel at, is planned at 400 kilometers per hour. As of March 2026, the project is on schedule to finalize its design for 400 kilometers per hour commercial operations. And what does 400 kilometers per hour actually mean for real people? The Beijing to Shanghai corridor, currently a journey of roughly 4.5 hours by the fastest trains, could be completed in approximately 2.5 hours. That's a city that's over 1,300 kilometers away. Done in the time it takes to watch a movie. But the speed isn't even the most impressive part. The CR450 can go from 0 to 350 kilometers per hour in just 4 minutes and 40 seconds, 100 seconds faster than the current generation of Fuxing trains. And it does all of this while using less energy. The train has reduced running resistance by 22% and cut its weight by 10%, improving fuel efficiency despite the massive jump in speed. And remember, China's high-speed rail network already stretches to 48,000 kilometers, representing approximately 70% of all high-speed rail infrastructure on the entire planet. The CR450 isn't the beginning of their rail story. It's the latest chapter of a story that's been running for 15 years. Now, here's where things get really wild. Because in January 2025, a little-known Chinese startup did something that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and, honestly, through the entire global economy. Chinese AI startup DeepSeek launched its open-source model DeepSeek R1, triggering a global shock across technology, capital, and geopolitics. NVIDIA's stock price plummeted 17% in a single day. Meta's market value dropped by $100 billion, and the Nasdaq index fell 3%. One AI model, one day. $100 billion wiped from the market. Insane. But here's what actually happened. DeepSeek's training cost was only $6 million, yet its performance rivals OpenAI's GPT-4o. For context, OpenAI spent an estimated $500 million training its comparable model. DeepSeek did it for 98% less money. On chips that the US had banned from being exported to China, US President Donald Trump called it a wake-up call for the US tech industry. Mark Andreessen, one of the most powerful venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, called it AI's Sputnik moment. And the impact didn't stop at one news cycle. DeepSeek services have been heavily adopted across global markets, particularly in Southeast Asia and Africa. And the platform keeps growing a full year later. A report by Capital Economics said China will challenge the US as a global leader in AI, noting that 1 year on from DeepSeek's breakthrough, Chinese AI is still hot on the heels of US tech. Now here's the thing, China isn't just building the future inside its own borders. It's exporting it. As of 2025, the Belt and Road Initiative spans participating countries that account for nearly 75% of the world's population and over half of global GDP. That's roads, railways, ports, power plants, and digital infrastructure being built across Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America, all financed and often built by China. And the numbers from 2025 were record-breaking. In the first half of 2025 alone, Chinese firms signed $66.2 billion in new construction contracts and invested $57.1 billion directly in BRI countries, roughly $124 billion in BRI. Just 6 months. But the strategy is evolving. China is now diversifying its overseas investment, increasingly focusing on renewables, technology, and manufacturing, as well as more small-scale projects, moving away from the massive, debt-heavy megaprojects of the past toward what they're calling small yet smart investments. Digital infrastructure, green energy, local manufacturing. Basically, China is building the internet, the power grid, and the factories in countries that the West largely ignored. And in the process, it's becoming the infrastructure backbone of the developing world. Now, look, it's easy to throw around big numbers and impressive headlines. But let me try to give you a sense of the actual scale of what's happening here. By the close of 2024, China had already fulfilled over 90% of its planned transport projects under the 14th five-year plan, with key targets not just achieved, but often exceeded ahead of schedule. Fixed asset investment in learning, transportation alone reached 15.2 trillion yuan. That's about $2.12 trillion during the first 4 years of the plan, marking a 23.3% increase over the previous period. And that's just transportation. That's not energy. That's not AI. That's not space. That's just roads, rails, ports, and airports. China's AI industry added 429 gigawatts of net new power generation capacity in 2024 alone, more than 15 times the capacity added in the United States during the same period. That's the power infrastructure to run the data centers that run the AI that's now competing with Silicon Valley. Every piece connects to every other piece. The energy feeds the AI runs the trains. The trains connect the cities drive the economy, and the Belt and Road exports the whole model to the rest of the world. So the obvious question is, how? How is one country doing all of this so fast? And honestly, there's no single magic answer, but a few things stand out. First, scale. China has 1.4 billion people. The domestic market alone justifies investments that would be impossible anywhere else. When you build a high-speed rail line in China, you're building it for a population bigger than North America and Europe combined. Second, long-term planning. China operates on 5-year plans, government blueprints that set specific targets and then actually fund them. The 15th 5-year plan, covering 2026 to 2030, is already being rolled out. It explicitly incorporates appropriate forward planning for AI infrastructure, 5G, blockchain, and digital twin technologies into the national roadmap, things that most countries are still debating at the policy level. Third, and this is the DeepSeek lesson, constraints breed innovation. When the US cut off China's access to the most advanced AI chips, Chinese engineers didn't give up. They figured out how to do more with less. And in doing so, they built something that blindsided the most well-funded tech companies on the planet. If this video opened your eyes, even a little bit, smash that like button right now, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell, because if you miss the next video, that's genuinely on you.